I'd like to ask each roundtable member to state in 30 seconds, which is a challenge in itself, what they believe, each believes, is an essential element in the area of civility. And I'll begin on my left with Professor Washburn, if I could.
Okay, 30 seconds. I think that civility, when we move outside of the realm of the ideal and into the arena of actually enforcing civility norms, is very complicated. It's something we have to do, but it is something that is fraught with the possibility for all sorts of contingent and relative judgments, and we have to be careful that we're not being biased in enforcing these norms, and also that we are punishing the behavior and not the message of the person who is misbehaving or the client that they represent. I think civility is vitally important, and ironically, it seems like we're talking about it a lot, but when you actually look at the cases, we're not enforcing it as much as we should be.
Okay. Mr. Wilkinson.
Well, I view civility as really a critical subset of professionalism, although they're often equated terms. My view as a practicing lawyer is really a focus on respect, and that's respect for the court, clients, witnesses, court personnel, the people you have come into contact with on a daily basis. And good lawyers, in my view, really don't need to demonstrate their superiority. They don't need to belittle or berate more junior lawyers or bring witnesses to tears with boorish behavior. People notice how you treat other people, and in my view, that includes jurors. And in the long run, when you're practicing and when you're in the courtroom, your best conduct really infects the process, and the ultimate fact finders, really listen and pay attention. So I think it's been important to be polite, be respectful, even if it's not reciprocated. And sometimes you'll be rewarded. That is, something will happen in some favor when you really need it will come your way because you've been respectful of others. So I think it's both the right thing to do and it's the smart thing to do, at least for a practicing lawyer.
Okay. Judge Ash?
For me, it goes back to what my mother told me when I was 6 years old. She told me if I didn't get an education, I'd never amount to anything. And for us, I think we need to educate first our children. In Tennessee, we don't have civics classes anymore. People find out about how courts operate from watching Judge Judy and The Good Wife, which is a show I really like, by the way, and Law and Order. And that's just not what courts are. So I think we need to do a better job with education at that level. Next, we need to do a better job educating lawyers, especially when they're in law school and then later on when they become members of the bar. And finally, organizations like the National Judicial College, they have got to be held up. I think many judges who do unethical things just really don't know the rules. I see Judge Mike Kiesler there. One of the reasons I got involved in judicial ethics was because when I first went to the Judicial College, he was the professor. I wanted to be ethical like that man. And then also, Big Sam, Judge DeSimone back there, I saw him and thought, that's the kind of judge I want to be, somebody that gives back and is ethical and hardworking and wants to be a teacher. Those people taught me about education. I think if we educate society more across the board, maybe we'll learn to treat each other with a little bit more respect.
Okay. Let's start down at the end, if we could, with Judge Jones.
Good afternoon. When I think about civility, I go back to the basics like Judge Ashton in my own home when I grew up, which was all about the golden rule, and that simply is, as a lawyer, as a judge, as any litigant, it is treating anybody that you would come into contact with in that arena with the same kind of respect that you would want to be treated with as you would want to, as you might find yourself, whether you are going to be in the position as judge or a witness or, frankly, someone who is unlocking the door or mopping the floor in the evening when court is adjourned. I am much more impressed with skill, courteousness, competence than tenacity. I teach at Penn, and I tell my law students every year at the end of the year, I will disavow any knowledge of you if you don't stand when you address the court, if you don't refer to witnesses as Mr., Ms., or Mrs., and if you don't greet your opponent with a handshake and a smile. And it's nice to be in court with you at the end of every trial day. That, to me, is what civility in the courtroom is all about.
Ms. Lukey.
I was interested to hear both Judge Ash and Judge Jones refer to the home and their mothers, because my definition of civility is when every participant in the trial, the lawyers, the judges, the witnesses, and the jurors, all behave as if their mother were sitting there and could hear every word they said, especially if you had an old country Italian mother, as I was blessed to have.
Dean Broderick.
Thank you. My understanding of civility was by watching other lawyers, watching great lawyers. And one of the underrated skills in lawyering and in life generally is the capacity to listen. Civil lawyers listen. They're critical listeners. They're also disciplined people, mentally disciplined, and tolerant people. And lastly, they have a perspective that today's case is not their career. When I was telling John Lukey, when I was a very young lawyer, the senior partner in our firm came to see me on a Friday. I had a trial, my first jury trial, by myself on Monday. And he asked me what I was doing, and I told him I was preparing. It was an automobile case, and I was defending the allegedly wrongful driver. And he said, I just have a bit of advice for you. I said, what's that, Mr. Millimet? He said, remember this, you were not driving the car. It's very true. Don't become the defendant. You're the defendant's lawyer. And that has stuck with me throughout my career. And I think people who have a civil attitude and a civil behavior understand those principles.